crazy, wonderful people, and welcome to another installment of Metalhead Central, the show where I take an honest look at the heavier side of music and give it an honest rating. I have no words to describe what I listened to this week. Power metal? Forget it. Symphonic metal? Nope. This was powerful symphonic metal. Wow, that sounded better in my head. Okay, let's try that again. Symphonic power metal. Yeah, that's it. Oh, this album had me so pumped. I love it when a band is able to craft something so dynamic and powerful, yet so soothing and wonderful at the same time. If you hadn't guessed it by now, or by reading the title of the video, I'm referring to Avantasia's new album, Moonglow. It came out February 15th on Nuclear Blast. Hey, another Nuclear Blast release. You know, it's almost like these guys are major players in the metal game. But what do I know? Avantasia is fronted by Tobias Sammet, who is also in the power metal band Edguy. However you say it. Anyway, Avantasia is his side project. And boy, what a side project it is. There were very few things I found to be negative about this album, and I'll get to them in a minute. But first, let's begin with the positives. This album has great melodic hooks on it. Yay! After an album last week that had pretty good melodic hooks on it, this one has great melodic hooks. And the use of a backing orchestra makes it all the more outstanding. From opener Ghost in the Moon, to title track, to the Starlight, to 11-minute long album masterpiece The Raven Child, there are hooks aplenty to be found on Moonglow. Speaking of The Raven Child, you're probably sitting there thinking to yourself, but Caleb, you don't like songs that are that long. What's wrong with you? Are you feverish? No, I am not. I was feverish last week, but not this week, and definitely not because of the length of this amazing track. When a band does songs that are this long, they don't need to be extremely heavy listens because the track gets bogged down within itself, and then you're constantly checking the runtime and going, when's this gonna be done? I got stuff to do. I got places to go. When's it gonna be done? On this track, the 11 minutes go by and you feel like it's just been 3 or 4. That's when you know the song was good, because it feels like it could have been released as a single. Wait a minute. Let me just do some research. It was released as a single! I've also got to give it up to Tobias for his usage of guest vocalists on this one. The following people were used in the making of this album. Did you see it? 8. Count them, 8 different guest vocalists, and they're all well-known names within the rock and metal world. Although I will admit Bob Catley and Jorn Landi threw me for a bit of a loop. But anyway, the use of guest vocalists really makes the album click on a different level, and I've got to give major props for that. Now to the downside, small as it is. The opening track, Ghost in the Moon, is an insanely incredible track from a power metal standpoint, with lots of force and really neat guitar work. However, the dynamics could have used a little bit of work. There's not a lot of contemplative moments on the track. It feels like you're riding the symphonic power metal freight train for nearly 10 minutes. The problem with that is that it's very easy to get lost in a track that long if you don't do something different to keep the listener's attention. At the 8-minute mark, I was like, okay, you can play symphonic power metal incredibly well. Can we get something a little different? A piano break? Maybe one of those softer guitar solos? The track felt muddled just a little bit. It was still a neat track, but it felt like a bit of a grind. The other problem I had was the usage of Creator's Mil Petrosa as a guest vocalist. No offense to him, but his voice isn't exactly suited for this type of metal. He's a thrash metal guy through and through, and the track that he guested on, Book of Shallows, really shows that. The track darn near turns into a thrash metal song halfway through, and it really sort of hurts the track because it goes away from the awe-inspiring symphonic metal of the other songs. It sounds more like something you'd hear on a Creator album and not on an Avantasia album. But again, this is incredibly minor stuff, on an album that was just full of this amazing symphonic work, these incredible choral arrangements. The choirs on here were outstanding, and guest vocals from some of the greatest metal vocalists of all time. As many of you know, I listen to new albums either on Spotify or YouTube Music, and then I pick up a copy based on whether I liked it or not. I loved this album, and it's the second album of the year after Soilwork's new one that I will be doing my best to get my hands on a physical copy of. I give Moonglow by Avantasia a 97 out of 100 on the YPS scale. It's a definite album of the year contender. Thank you so much for watching. Click like and subscribe for more Metalhead Central. Next week, we're veering sharply away from the powerful and uplifting to the bleak yet somewhat melodious as we take a look at Candlemass's new album, The Door to Doom. Next week is a huge week for metal. You got Dream Theater dropping a new album, Delane is dropping a new album, Candlemass is dropping a new album, and for those of you who might sort of, I don't know, maybe kind of, I guess they have fans, I really don't know, be interested, Attila is dropping a new album for those of you who may care. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I'll see y'all next week.